Tim, let me start with something that caught me before the invasion of the Capitol. I was watching your brother, knowing that he's a dentist, which made the way he wears the mask even more peculiar to me. The mask was not covering his nose. It wasn't even covering his mouth. What explains that about a trained dentist?
Lawrence, I would say that a couple of months before the election, he was on camera saying that the COVID was overblown and that it would go away at the time of the election. So, if you listen to Paul, do so at your own risk. I mean, he's been in the healthcare profession his whole life, yet makes those kind of statements about COVID, putting people in harm's way.
What do you think should happen now after the invasion of the Capitol?
Well, I think what's happened when you're an organizer, when you're a mastermind of a plot to do what was done last week, you're just as guilty as the mob that you besieged and took and overran the House. And so when that's the case, you're just as guilty as the events and the people and what they did and the 5 people that lost their lives. So there's blood on your hands. I would say, too, Lawrence, that Paul swore an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. When you take that oath and you commit treason and insurrection, aren't you the person that has committed those crimes? And aren't you the enemy that you're sworn to protect us from?
So you want your brother expelled?
Absolutely. Absolutely. He thumbed his nose at his oath and put people in harm's way, and 5 people are dead because of the events that he set in motion, that he masterminded and that he organized.
You and 2 of your siblings actually appeared in a campaign ad against your brother, saying that you were going to vote for his opponent in 2018. So what have the family gatherings been like since then?
Well, I don't gather with Paul, Lawrence. I don't have a relationship with Paul. I have a zero tolerance for white supremacy and hate and people that won't tell the truth, people that don't have integrity or character. And I know that that's who Paul is, and I don't have a relationship and won't with him.
Has he changed during the Trump years?
I would say, Lawrence, that he's changed ever since he became a member of the House. He was an original birther where he said that President Obama was an illegitimate president and wasn't even a citizen of this country. He called the Pope a leftist, doing the bidding for the left. He told in 2016, he said, get over it. Elections have consequences. In 2017, he said that George Soros was a Nazi sympathizer and had given up his people to the Nazis. And then we have this abhorrent, unbelievable event that he organized, masterminded, and put into effect.